In the rugged wilderness of Colorado's remote Silverback Mountain Reserve, there lived an old male silverback gorilla. For years, he had wandered these forested cliffs alone, far from the lush valleys where his troop once thrived. His massive body, once a force of pure dominance, had lost its thickness. The dark, silver-tinged fur on his back had begun to fade. His chest, once proud and puffed, now sagged slightly under the weight of age. In his prime, he was the undisputed leader of a powerful troop. His mere presence enough to send younger males scurrying and females bowing in recognition. His thumping chest echoed through the trees like thunder. The deep scars on his arms told stories of battles fought and won. But the law of the wild never bends for long. Time humbled even the strongest. He first noticed the change in his steps. They weren't as quick. His punches, once bone-crushing, no longer had the same sting. Slowly, silently, he left the troop he'd built and protected for years. There was no drama, no farewell, just a long, heavy walk up into the higher parts of the reserve, where few animals and even fewer humans ever reached. He found shelter in a shallow cave nestled between massive stones. Every morning he'd step out and sit at the edge of the cliff, staring into the vast forest below. He would listen to the wind rustling through the pine trees, his gaze far, his mind farther, remembering the days he would beat his chest and roar at rival males, the way the troop rallied behind him. But those were distant echoes now. Days of raw dominance replaced by the soft rustle of solitude. He had grown older, yes. But in his heart, the fire hadn't died. Life in the high cliffs wasn't easy. The old gorilla relied on roots, berries, and the occasional squirrel or rabbit he could catch, enough to survive but never to thrive. Each movement was slower now. Old wounds, long sealed, had started to ache in the cold air. His once towering figure now moved with effort, every motion revealing how time had worn down even the mightiest. Still, every day he ventured out. Even if it was just to sit quietly and feel the wind brushing against his weathered face. He wasn't waiting for anything. He simply existed, a shadow of the legend he once was. Then one afternoon, the sky above turned a dull gray. He climbed higher than usual, drawn by the scent of wild pears carried by the wind. As he reached a ridge, he spotted something, a small white-tailed deer nibbling near the edge of the forest opening. Hunger flared inside him like a forgotten flame. This could be a rare meal, something warm, something real. He crept forward, his limbs stiff but determined. The deer noticed and bolted. The gorilla chased, driven by instinct rather than energy. The terrain was steep, slippery with loose soil and jagged rocks. Every step he took was a test of will against his fading strength. The deer leapt over a fallen tree and vanished down a slope. The gorilla followed blindly, until his foot slipped on a moss-covered stone. He tried to stop, but gravity pulled him mercilessly forward. He slammed into the edge of a cliff, his fingers scrambling to catch anything solid. Rocks crumbled beneath him. His body dangled dangerously, held only by his trembling hands and sheer will. Below him, a dark drop. Above him, silence. He growled low, not in anger but in desperation. The kind of sound only the mountains could understand. And he held on. 4 hours, the old gorilla clung to the jagged rock face, his massive arms shaking from exhaustion. His breaths were short, ragged, and every passing second drained him further. The wind sliced through the cliffs, tossing dirt into his eyes. Yet he held on, refusing to let go, not just out of survival, but out of some buried instinct that told him he wasn't done yet. His roars had become hoarse whispers, echoes lost in the vast emptiness. There was no pride here, no glory, just an aging beast trying to outlast the end. But fate has strange timing. Miles below, on a hidden dirt trail that wound through the Appalachian backcountry, a wildlife ranger named Cole was heading back to his station. Cole had worked these mountains for years, tracking bears, rescuing injured hawks, once even pulling a cougar cub out of a trap. But he'd never heard a sound like this, a deep, broken groan that didn't belong to any creature common to these woods. He stopped the ATV, killed the engine, and listened. It came again, distant, almost human in its pain. Grabbing his gear, Cole moved cautiously, climbing toward the sound. As he reached a narrow ridge, he froze. There, hanging from the cliff like a forgotten statue, was the gorilla. His eyes met Cole's, not with fear but with a quiet plea. They locked eyes for just a moment and Cole felt something ancient, something raw. This wasn't just an animal. This was something fighting for dignity, for one last breath. Without hesitation, Cole moved closer. "It's okay, big guy," he whispered, not even sure why. "I got you." The gorilla didn't flinch. He didn't growl. He just waited. And Cole knew, This wasn't going to be easy. Cole's hands were trembling as he approached the edge of the cliff. The old gorilla's massive form seemed to sway with the wind, a moment away from collapsing. The ranger swallowed hard, his mind racing through every rescue mission he'd ever done. This was different. There was no protocol for something like this. The gorilla's eyes locked with his again, pleading without a single word. Cole was close now, and with every inch, the distance between man and beast seemed to vanish. He knelt down carefully and, with a deep breath, reached out to touch the gorilla's broad, weathered arm. "Don't move," Cole muttered, almost to himself. "Stay with me." The wind howled through the cliffs, but Cole's focus remained fixed on the beast in front of him. He grabbed the gorilla's arm firmly, his muscles straining as he began the slow process of pulling the creature up, inch by inch. The gorilla's powerful limbs, though weakened, tried to help, pushing against the rock as much as they could. Sweat poured down Cole's face, but he didn't dare stop. The earth trembled beneath them as the rocks shifted, threatening to tear everything apart. The gorilla's breath came in sharp, strained gasps, but slowly, agonizingly, they made progress. Cole's arms burned, and his chest felt like it was about to explode, but somehow he kept pulling. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the gorilla's body crested the edge. Cole collapsed onto his back, chest heaving, as the gorilla's massive form slumped beside him. Both of them lay on the cold, hard ground, exhausted but alive. The gorilla wheezed, but it wasn't a groan of agony anymore. It was relief. After a long, silent moment, the gorilla slowly raised its head, and in a strange act of understanding, bowed its head to Cole. A gesture of gratitude. The old gorilla had survived. Cole, gasping for air, smiled weakly. He had saved this creature, not just from death but from fading into a legend. They shared a quiet bond, one forged in the wildest, most unlikely of places. As the gorilla slowly stood up, Cole remained on the ground watching him. The beast turned back one last time, its eyes filled with a depth of wisdom only time could bring. Then, with a final grunt, it slowly disappeared into the shadows of the forest. And as Cole lay there, the wind died down, leaving nothing but the sound of his own heart beating in the quiet wilderness.